Hello and welcome to Beyond the Edge. I'm your host, Brandy Deutsch.
Good morning. I'm Dee Dee DeMayo, your co-host. Light, love, and blessings.
Gosh, we took a little 2 week hiatus.
It's time to get the engines going again. It's really a big shift the last couple of weeks, and today still feels like things are hovering. I don't even know how to describe that energetically or spiritually. And anybody listening, I'd like feedback on what their interpretation of how the energy feels right now. It's just wild. I don't know.
Yeah, I think we need our resident astrologist to come and tell us what's going on with
Yeah,
the
that we need to have David back and have him talk about and because it's just a unique time, and I feel disconnected but yet overcharged. It's real weird, very very strange right now. So
there's so much happening
so
and
much,
so many levels
so much.
right now. So, same guys, if you're feeling out of sorts, discombobulated, overwhelmed, out of your body, like just it's okay. Just go with it. And if you are, you have somebody in your life that needs some light sent to them, some unconditional love, some prayers, shoot us an email or a text and let us know that you would like them to be added to our light intercession list. Our
Yes.
number, our number is 805-500-3343, or you can also message us at Beyond the Edge TV. So I feel the same a little bit. Last couple of days, except for yesterday, like I had a plan. I knew what I wanted to do. Everything was going to be great, and then everything fell apart. So I know there's something going on, something happening, and when these things happen, you can stress out, you can get angry, or you can just kind of go with the flow. I
Hmm.
mean, life is so fluid, right? And as long as we're still alive, we can navigate these things, and that which does not kill us makes us stronger.
Yes, it definitely does, and gives you a new perspective on things. So, having said that, I just want to let you know our guest is in the green room,
Oh,
so
great,
we
great,
can
great.
start. We can.
Okay. Great. So today is a really interesting topic, what we're going to be talking about. Today we're going to be talking about decluttering from the inside out. And I want to talk a little bit about clutter before we introduce our guest. And personally, I have a little history with clutter. Okay. And right, a little bit of history with it. And eventually I foresee a future where I'm like in the woods and I have no possessions. you know,
Yeah.
like you just go, okay, I'm done with all of it. But I want to talk a little bit about statistics before we get into it. So this is from Forbes, right? The self-storage industry has grown from a simple idea into an incredible $38 billion industry. Self-storage. That was in 2017. I'm sure it's much more now. And the Self Storage Association reports that Americans spend $24 billion each year storing their stuff.
That just, yeah. I'm at
Can,
that. I'm at that point though. So this is probably part of the big shift for me. Is this show is pushing me, it's putting me in the hot seat and pushing me out of my comfort zone of stuff. I'm like, oh my God, I have so much stuff. You know. So
we
yeah.
do. We have a lot of
It's
stuff.
and there's no reason. I mean, I think that I have a good reason to hang on to it, but I'm hearing, my kids don't want it, this, that, and the other. I'm like, oh my God, but it means something. But really, what does it mean? I'm like, oh my God.
Mm.
So yeah, this show's going to be probably why I'm feeling a little disconnected because I'm having to look at my stuff, and I don't like that.
Oh,
It's uncomfortable.
that's awesome. And then like material stuff, emotional
Yeah,
stuff, like, we talk about baggage. What do you put in baggage? You put stuff,
stuff.
right?
Yeah, oh my God. Yeah.
You put
So
stuff
this is
in
a real,
baggage.
yeah. And again, I am so grateful that we have these shows because I have the opportunity to be front row center to dissecting, discovery, and it's always about self and being able to expose the stuff and clean it out. I love it.
Me
It's
too.
you
So
know
with that, let's just introduce our guest. I
okay.
have a few more stats, but we can go through those later.
Yeah.
So Michelle Mirpour. started her business, Organized Life, which she's missing.
There she is. Hello. I was like, what happened?
Hi
So
there.
that was a
She's
disappearing act.
erased so much stuff. She's transparent. Okay.
I
Let
love
me-
I love it. I love it. So Michelle, she started her business, Organized Life by Michelle, in 2004. Through that business, Michelle made a direct impact on other people's lives. So today, she is a Clutter to Calm Specialist who helps people clear the mind, the emotions, and physical clutter that no longer serves them, and empowers them to focus on their true purpose and what brings them joy. So welcome, Michelle. We're so happy to have you.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. Great to see
Welcome. Welcome.
you.
Did you hear what we were saying before you got on?
Yeah. Oh, those statistics are very outrageous, right? When you hear them, it puts things in perspective.
Extremely. How much money, time, energy, effort we spend on managing stuff. It's insane. But
Yeah,
we still do it.
we still do it.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So first I want to talk about what got you into this line of work. Like, how did you come to do this?
Well, I had my own clutter, right? So I had to deal with all the things in my life that were cluttering me up. And my journey started 20 years ago. I had a lot of things that I was doing in my life that just wasn't making me happy. And then as a result, I was going to retail therapy to fill those voids. And then I was also accumulating the physical clutter. So here I have the mental clutter, the emotional clutter, the relationship clutter, and then now I have on top of everything else the physical clutter. So I had to really sit and start asking myself the questions of, what do you want in this life? What's your purpose? What do you
Wow.
accomplish? What's going to make you happy? And it was challenging because I had no idea. And so that's when it all began. And so I had to really go deep and realize that, the marriage I was in was not serving me. The corporate career I was in was not serving me. The shopping I was doing to numb the pain was not serving me. So what was it going to take to make me happy? That's where it all began.
Wow.
That sounds so similar to a lot of people how they experience it. With Dee, you're like, yeah, you're resonating.
No, and I mean, it's like if she could have been a fly on the wall this weekend, listening to all the steps that here. Okay. And so, when you totally are ready and as best as you can realize readiness, I suspect, in the physical form to allow Creator to start directing your life, boy, he shows up in the strangest ways. And this weekend, I was asked this question, I have to decide what makes me happy. And you just spit it right out. I was like, oh Lord, here we go.
Yeah.
So I'm buckled in. Okay. That's all I can tell you. I'm buckled in, but yet I'm not holding on. Okay. So
Yeah, it's definitely a journey, right? And so when you get to that point and you start asking yourself those questions, like what am I doing, right? Life is too short. What do I need to do to really make me happy? That's when my self-discovery journey started. That's when I realized, okay, I need to get rid of all this stuff and the people and the emotions and the thoughts and the things that I thought were going to do it for me, but aren't. I need to get rid of all this stuff to make room for what really is going to bring joy in my life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So tell us a little bit how people actually work with you, Michelle. I'm just curious about this first because people have clutter in different ways in different places, and we'll talk about like cyber clutter later because that's the help I need. But I want to talk about how you kind of work with clients.
Yeah, I really like to meet people where they're at, right? Because everyone comes to me with a different clutter challenge. Okay, let's call it a clutter challenge. But ultimately, what they all have in common is that they're all at a point where they're just feeling like, I've had enough, right? Enough is enough. I can't deal with this anymore. I need to make a change. What do I need to do to make a change? What's that next step? And so that's when I'd like to say to them, okay, well, let's start with what are you trying to accomplish, right? What's important to you? because that's how I started. I started asking those questions of myself. And then, I tell people there's no cookie cutter approach to, dealing with clutter, or there's no quick system that I can put in place that's going to magically make your clutter go away, right? We need to go through the process of identifying what exactly are you trying to accomplish and where do you want to be in your life? What are you doing that's getting you stuck and cluttering you up in different areas? Is it the mental clutter, right? Are there limiting beliefs? Is it the emotional clutter? Are you holding on to emotional attachments or fear, maybe? Is it a whole bunch of physical stuff in your space that's getting in your way? What is it, right? We need to identify that and remove that clutter, and then get you fully aligned with who you are, what's important to you, what your goals are, your purpose, your mission, right? Again, the same questions I ask myself. And then we can put together a structure or a system or a strategy with an action plan, little actionable baby steps to get you there. So that's how I like to kind of link arms with my clients and come up with something that works for them, that's in alignment with them. And so ultimately they can sustain it and maintain it, even after I'm gone.
I really appreciate that process because everyone is so different. Everyone has had different life experiences, although sometimes they're very similar to, this situation or that situation. I really think people are individuals, and and they need to be individualized and not say, "Oh, well, 10 steps to declutter your life." It doesn't work that way.
No,
Yeah.
it's not that simple.
Right. So I
No.
really do appreciate. It's interesting though. Like it's not that simple, but at the same time, I think simple things can be put in place to really make life easier. Do you think
Mhm.
that's true, Michelle?
Yes, yes. I'm all about simplicity, right? Because as human beings, we tend to overcomplicate things. Even if we wanted to, let's say, put a tool in place for our business, it doesn't have to be that complicated. We can do things very simply to get the results we want. But without clarity of what exactly it is we're trying to accomplish, we won't be able to put something simple in place. We're going to end up cluttering that up as well. So we really need that clarity.
That's right. I have a saying: the more clever we are, the more places there are to hide.
Yeah,
Right? Because we're so
exactly.
good. We are so good
Yeah,
at making getting escape routes.
totally.
And trying to
Absolutely.
find a way to avoid things that we don't enjoy. Like
Yes.
that is a thing.
Well, it's amazing though, realizing we do that to things we enjoy as well. We find ways to do it so we stay in that, you know, I just had that conversation not a half hour ago with somebody in my house. I'm like, and they just looked at me and they're like, I think you're just trying to find reasons not to do that. I'm like, how dare you? And it's something I want to do, but I'm like, what is, really what's going on? Well, I'm having this struggle and I should just be going, okay, let's go. No, it's
I love
it's
it.
very weird. So
Well,
yeah, it happens on both sides.
Yeah.
that's a great point, Dee Dee. So,
Mhm.
Michelle, what are some of the clutter challenges that you typically come across in your business?
Well, a lot of times people are afraid, right? They're afraid of taking a step. They're afraid of
Oh man.
change. It's just really challenging to know what to do when you're not certain of the outcome, right? So it's that fear of uncertainty. Sometimes it's a fear of failure. Sometimes it's the limiting beliefs that people have of do I deserve this? Am I worthy of this? Am I good enough? Right. So that's a big challenge, and I call that the mental and the emotional clutter challenge, right? That a lot of people have, because it ultimately starts in the mind. So if we can remove that clutter that's going on up here, then we can have a little bit more clarity around what needs to happen next.
Yes, clarity. I think that's got to be one of the biggest challenges is lack of clarity. Because what was coming up for me whenever you said, well, we need to find out what makes you happy and what brings you joy. So many people don't know,
Hmm.
Exactly.
and they know what they don't want, you know. And sometimes it keeps coming creeping into their lives, but to focus on what makes them happy and what brings them joy. Not I don't want to say makes them happy because I believe in happiness is an inside job, right? Like
Yeah.
that's all about us. Not any things that are external. They can bring us some joy. They can bring us some happiness. But really and truly at the end of the day, it's what's inside of us that's going to determine whether or not something's going to make us happy, or we're going to be happy, right? So
Absolutely.
so tell me about some of the transformations you've seen while helping your clients.
Yeah. So one of the biggest transformation stories that I love to tell is of a client that I had who called me in. She actually found my ad online a while back when I was still putting up advertisements like that. And she reached out to me and she said, just to be honest with you, I came across your ad a year and a half ago. And I wasn't ready then to start working on anything, but I knew when I saw your ad, it just spoke to me. I knew that if I am ready, then this woman is the one who's going to help me with getting through all this. And so she kept my ad for a year and a half. She printed it out. She contacted me when she was ready, and she really just wanted to get rid of everything that she had been holding on to from her marriage. It was a very abusive marriage, and yet she was holding on to things from it.
Mm-hmm.
And then from her parents who had both passed, from her two pets who had both passed, right? So I walk into my client's home, and we start in the basement because that's where she had the most stuff kind of just piled in there and taking up the entire space. And it was really literally covered with everything, and there was no room to walk. So we had to start clearing the path. And I noticed, as we were going into the bathroom, I noticed that every single bathroom had been piled high in the bathtub with bags and books and boxes
Oh
and
my gosh.
every single bathtub. And I said, well, what's going on? And she said, well, I don't shower or bathe in my home anymore. And I actually haven't had hot water running through my home for the past year. And so what had happened was she had sunk into such a deep state of depression around everything that had happened in her life, and then all the clutter that she was holding on to, which is negative energy, and it can lead to a lot of mental health challenges as well. And so she was severely depressed. When her hot water stopped working, she didn't even have the energy to reach out to a plumber to get it fixed. And so she just started piling up her bathtubs with stuff. And she said, well, I'm not going to use it anyway because I have no hot water. And, she was bathing at a gym or anywhere else but her house. And so, I said, this is just really no way for you to live. And let's get through this. And so one session, after 5 hours, we had cleared about 21 bags, large bags of things to get rid of. And they were sitting on her front lawn, and some of them were donation items, and the rest was just trash. And she just broke down in tears and hugged me. And we were perfectly, good strangers before that first session, right? And she was so emotional, and she said, I just had no idea there was anyone out there who cared, who could get me through this. And, it was just a deep, deep hole that she was in. And it was very emotional for her. But we worked through, her things after a few sessions. Her energy shifted. She was a completely different person. She reached out to me after probably our third session, and she said, I called the plumber. I've got him scheduled. He's coming out. He's going to fix my water situation so I can use in my bath and my shower again. And her landscaping was a mess. It was like her jungle, fire had happened in her backyard. And so that was another dream of hers, was to get a landscaper in there. And she had put him on the schedule. A week later, she called me with an update. They had come in, they had done the work, and she called me with another update. And she said, at work, they just noticed, that I was more productive and just, performing on my work a lot better. And I got a promotion at my job too.
Wow.
And so everything started shifting for her, everything. And it just all started with that one step, important step to call for help, really, to call for help when she was ready. And everything shifted after that for her. That was one of the biggest transformations that I saw, that started with physical space. And then it went on to so much more.
Wow. What an amazing story. So A lot of things come up for me whenever you were telling your story. The first thing that stands out is you talked about starting in the basement, right, which is like the lowest level. And in energy work, we talk about the basement being the subconscious.
Yes.
And how when you go down, when you go deep into what's in there, you can find a lot of things that are buried.
Mhm.
And you said specifically we had to clear a path.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so there's that clarity part of dealing with your stuff again,
Yeah.
finding the clarity, clearing out the way. And, that's a metaphor for the journey of life. Amazing. That's an amazing story. The other thing that is coming up for me is people are watching this who have clutter issues. People are watching this who have those kinds of scenarios in their home or with their work or however it looks. And when they hear stories like this, I remember, friends telling me about going to AA and listening to other people's experiences and how bad it got for them. And they go, wow, that could be me.
Mm-hmm.
Like it could get that bad for me. Or I'm already there and I don't even know it. But so
Yeah.
when you start hearing stories like that, the light bulb goes off and there's this epiphany like, oh my God, my life is a mess. It's not just my space is a mess, my life is a mess. And I think that could be part of the tipping point for people when they start to realize that, wow, I could be doing a lot better if I had help, if I had some encouragement, somebody to kind of hold my hand. And this is part of what you do, right?
Absolutely. And that's how I started, right? My life was an absolute mess. Everything, right? Not just the physical space, not just the accumulation of stuff, but I just didn't know what I was doing. Why was I even living, right? What was my purpose? Because I was just living this inauthentic life for other people, pleasing everyone else around me, doing what family and society expected of me. But who was Michelle? What did she want? What was her purpose? Why was she placed on this planet? And so now I see certain patterns with my clients of people just doing the things, doing all the things, or collecting all the things, but not necessarily doing the right things or bringing the right things into their space, right? And so that's why it's really important to, when you get to that point, you realize, what am I doing? Everything's a mess. Everything's cluttered. I don't even know what direction I'm going in. I sure could use some support to get me, out of this and get me on a path, right? That's really important to come to that realization. And sometimes it takes a while. It really does.
Yes, not something that has been accumulated overnight. So it's not something that's going to take overnight to resolve.
Absolutely.
Right. It's a process. So I have over 100,000 emails in my inbox. Let's talk about cyber clutter.
Oh my gosh.
Listen, I've had the same email for over 16 years. Okay.
Mhm.
I've had to start another email. I don't have a bunch, right? But I've had to start another email and I have one for business, so that looks a lot different. But my personal, because I don't want Dee Dee to go, what? My personal, because I've had it such a long time, on occasion, I've missed important emails.
Mhm.
And that's a problem when I go, oh no, when it creeps
Mhm.
into my business and it interferes with me getting to important information, that's a problem. So I don't know why. I just don't take a day to create folders and,
Mhm.
save important emails and delete the ones that I don't need anymore. Do you come across people like me who do that kind of thing? And would you consider that cyber clutter? Would you consider that like like a different type, a different category of clutter, or is it kind of all the same thing?
First of all, you are not alone, right? So many people have, and is that 100,000 unread emails, by the way?
I don't know. I don't even
So
know.
sometimes I come across people who have tens of thousands of unread emails, right? That is not uncommon. It really isn't. It sounds terrible, but it happens more often than you realize. And yes, this is considered, I call it digital clutter, because clutter exists in so many different forms. And it's anything that really just doesn't serve us, anything that's taking up space, anything that's not bringing us closer to our goal. And all it's doing is it's creating a sense of anxiety, right? That's all clutter. And digital clutter, yes, it happens in the form of emails. It happens in the form of too many files on your desktop, right? Too many folders, too many files.
I'm looking, I'm going, what?
Yeah.
Hang on a minute. Oh, I only have 35. No. But in those 35 are all the subfolders. Let me just say.
Yeah. And then you've got folders within folders, and you've got
oh my God.
browsers open and multiple tabs open, right? Sometimes I talk to people that literally have over 100 tabs open, and then things start to slow down, right? Or things start to crash, or you can't find things. And guess what happens when you can't find things? You either go out, if it's the thing that you've purchased, you either go out and buy another one. If it's the thing that you've downloaded, you end up searching for it again to download it again. If it's on your computer and it's not something you downloaded, it's something you created, well, if you can't find it, then you get really stressed, right? All of these things happen as a result of having too much clutter and not being able to find what you need. Because everything should serve a purpose. And if it's not, then it's cluttering up your space, whether it's your digital space, your mental space, or your physical space. So yes, there's definitely a lot of digital clutter out there. And in this day and age, everyone's online. We add social media clutter to the mix, right? We've got so much happening on social media. We've got a lot of noise and distractions out there. And so if it's not serving you, if it's not, bringing you closer to your business goals, if all it's doing is creating time wasters, you're going down rabbit holes because you're allowing social media to clutter up your life, then we need to take a look at it and, go back to the basic question of, what is it you're trying to accomplish? Let's gain clarity around that, and then move everything else that's getting in your way.
Is there like one tip you could give our audience around cyber clutter or digital clutter, any kind of clutter associated with business and working today in our digital world? Is there one thing that you can a little nugget that you can give folks to help them with their? I know it's broad because there are a lot of different areas in which you can, but let's talk about social media, because there's a lot. You've got Twitter, you've got Instagram, you've got Facebook, you've got TikTok, and it's like, it is so overwhelming. Even as a business owner, if I think, oh, I want to post this here and tell people about this, and there's all these different places, right? What can you give folks who get overwhelmed around social media?
With social media specifically, I always tell people to focus on one platform that really has been working for them. So for me, for instance, it's Facebook, right? Yes, I have a LinkedIn account. Yes, I have an Instagram account. I have a profile on Clubhouse, but I'm not actively using them the way I am with Facebook. Why? Because Facebook is the one that's working for me, right? So if we spread our attention across 5 different platforms, then we lose sight of, which one's really working for us. So we need to really just hone in on one platform. What are we using it for? Why are we on it, right? Is it giving us the results we want? Are we using it for lead generation, to bring in clients for our business, to bring in more subscribers? Which one is giving us those results, right? Which one is actually working for us? And then you put your energy in that one. It makes things a lot easier than spreading your energy and your time across all of it. It's too much to maintain. It really is too much to maintain.
Right. Agreed. And that's a great tip. That's a really great tip. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
So I'm really fascinated by what you're teaching your clients right now. So you're going to be having some workshops coming up. And when you started telling me about these workshops that you are having, I got really excited. I got excited because we have clutter in so many different areas of our lives. To be able to hone in on a specific area that people might have issues with, I think is gold. Is gold, because not everybody wants to know about relationship clutter. Not everybody wants to know about cyber clutter, right? So can you tell us a little bit about the workshop that you have coming up, or multiple workshops that you have coming up, and how people can get in with those?
Yes, absolutely. So I'm really excited because, like you said, I'm able to hone in on specific areas that people want to focus on, right? So I've got a series of 12 declutter workshops that I've got coming up. And the first one is actually tomorrow. It's called Declutter Your Life and Do More of What Brings You Joy, because I think that's a really good place to start, which is where I started in my own life, to figure out what was going to bring me joy and get rid of everything else. Right? So it's meant to really bring you awareness around the different things you're doing in your life that just aren't bringing you that joy. And like you said, it's an inside job. I always say that we've got to start, and declutter from the inside out. In fact, that's the name of my group mentorship program, Declutter Your Life from the Inside Out. But these workshops are meant to go into, specific areas. So we start with, the overall decluttering of your life, and then we jump into other areas. So we've got workshops that allow you to declutter your physical space and create a more calm and relaxing space. One specifically that allows you to declutter your closet and bring in a fresh, new, sexy wardrobe. Another one that allows you to declutter your computer so you can find everything you need, right? Another one that allows you to declutter your pantry and start bringing in healthier choices, that can give you more energy, right? So we go deeper into different areas, and, people can pick and choose whichever one they want, or take all 12.
I love it. I love it. Because, you mentioned the pantry, you mentioned the closet. Here's an interesting fact. In 1930, the average American woman owned 9 outfits. Today, that figure is 30 outfits, one for every day of the month. I think it's more than that, but I think
more than that.
Right? I think it's very interesting how our stuff has accumulated exponentially over the years.
Yeah.
Instead of just the opposite, and us starting to minimize what we have. And so the pantry thing is also very fascinating to me, and I think an important aspect, because I think a lot of people are looking to get healthier. This past year, the pandemic that we all, the pandemic scare that we all had was very real. And a lot of people started thinking about their health and energy, and where do they want to be in 5-10 years, and just how, what do they have in their pantry that they can change. Again, I think people also feel like they might need help. So that's what a great program. I want to go a little bit deeper into some other ones, because you mentioned these to me. So your office, right?
Yeah.
Your to-do list.
Yes. Yes, that's a big one, right? Because it doesn't matter who we are, what we do for a living, we all have a to-do list. We all do, right? And usually our to-do list is just a mile long, and it's so overwhelming that what we do, we look at it and then we toss it. At least that's what I used to do. Just toss it to the side, like, oh, I'm tired just looking through this list. So we go through how to really effectively create a to-do list that's going to work for you instead of scare you off. Right.
I love it. I love it. Now, I'm going to tell you, as a mom, I've got 3 kids. And before I had children, I would start a project and I would finish it. That's not how it works when you have children. I start a project and I might finish it a couple of months down the line,
Yes.
depending on what it is. And again, this is these things that bring me joy that I want to work on, little DIY projects or some art, or, just things that make me happy and bring me joy. But yet here I am, I have to work on it in little bitty increments to get it completed. And that's a big challenge. That's a huge challenge for parents. So I assume that's something that you can also help people with. Yes.
Yes, absolutely. And we also talk about decluttering basically your life to create work-life balance, right? So especially when you have children and you're juggling so many different things, how do you balance it all? We talk about setting boundaries, we talk about just really making sure that you've got self-care that's not neglected. So these are all important aspects. And again, it doesn't matter if you're a business owner, if you're a mom, if you're single, it really doesn't matter, because we all face these issues.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you also have one for relationships. And I'm very interested in that because there are people who are single, people who are in relationships, people just getting out of relationships. Let's talk a little bit about the clutter that happens in relationships. So, how do you approach, let's say, someone who I want to go with is single, who doesn't have a relationship that they're in, but is dating? I mean, we talked about baggage before, and what do you look for in someone? What do you not look for? And it could be overwhelming for someone who doesn't know who doesn't have that clarity, who doesn't know exactly what they want. How do you help people who, let's say, who are single, who are looking for a life partner?
Yeah, so decluttering things in your relationship, sometimes, we just have to start with ourselves, right? The relationship that we have with ourselves. And again, this is something that an exercise I did on myself. We really need to go inward and we need to understand what's important to us, what our values are, what we're looking for, right? And ultimately, who do we need to be to attract that person, right? What do we need to do in order to attract that person? And so we talk about that. If we're being a certain way but we're expecting something different, then these two are out of alignment. So we need to bring them into alignment, and we need to get clarity around exactly what it is that we're asking for, and are we putting the same type of energy out there. So we look at things like that, and decluttering the extra things that we're doing, or the extra things, maybe expectations that we have, right? That are not
Mm.
realistic or not in alignment with our values. So those are the types of things we declutter.
Yeah, I think in any relationship that would be true, right? I mean, it starts with us and whether or not we're getting our needs met, whether or not we're asking for what we need, whether or not we even know what we need. Back to clarity,
Yes,
and knowing ourselves, because in and that's the first relationship, right? That's the first one.
absolutely.
And then through business relationships, intimate relationships, relationships with our children, I mean,
Mhm.
it kind of just branches out from there. So you definitely right on track with that. And I think a lot of people could use that kind of clarity and that kind of help.
Yes.
So I'm sorry. So do you do one-on-one coaching as well?
I do, yes. So for about 16 years, it was all one-on-one coaching. And last year, because of the pandemic, I brought everything online, and which was wonderful because I was thinking just before the pandemic, how can I impact more people? And really, I wanted to be able to help people outside of my community and be able to help people internationally. And so, thankfully for the pandemic, I was, kind of pushed in that direction. And so I brought everything online, and now I am able to, I still have some one-on-one clients, but I'm able to really offer, group coaching and group mentorship on a larger level and help people around the world.
That's amazing. That's really awesome. I definitely see a lot of positives that have come out of what we've been through. There's a lot of tragedy, and a lot of people have suffered, and it's so unfortunate. And at the same time, I think there's also been a kind of awakening. We talk about it as in our energy families as being a great awakening,
Yeah.
meaning people are really opening up to what they need, what they have, what they don't have, what's important to them. And this in this way, it's such a blessing. It was such a blessing. So I think what you're doing is absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
We're going to have the link to your workshop in our comments. So that workshops in our comments in case people want to look at that or sign up for that. And so what's your website, Michelle?
My website is organizedlifebymichelle.com.
Okay.
And I've got so the workshop that I'm putting out tomorrow. I've got the 12, but I haven't put them up on my website yet. But I will give you the link for the one for tomorrow. And then my Declutter Your Life from the Inside Out group mentorship program is also on my website under the coaching programs tab.
Excellent. Excellent.
Yeah,
So
I did put in the comments for people that are able to watch through Facebook and YouTube. They'll be able to click the links for the workshops and everything. So
Great.
perfect. Perfect.
Thank
That's
you.
excellent. Excellent. So we know how to get in touch with you, Michelle. We know how to connect with you. One other question that I have for you is kind of more, goes a little bit deeper with some of this clutter stuff. So a lot of times people have these challenges, that tragedies that happen in their lives. I have someone that I know very well. She's a relative, and her husband passed several years ago. And prior to that, she kept her house immaculate. Immaculate.
Mm.
You couldn't walk through her house with your shoes on. Not that that's a bad thing. A lot of people do that, but she was very animate about, take your shoes off at my door. Don't walk into my house with your shoes on. After her husband passed, things started to change for her, and she has a son, a grown son, and the the clutter for her, she has a separate storage. I think she has another storage. Her living room is, you can't really walk in there. We all kind of feel like the death of her husband kind of made things get worse and worse and worse. For someone like that, I mean, this is a really hard hit kind of thing that happens. And I think a lot of people have dealt with death this year. A lot of people have dealt with loss. How can you help people who are still grieving, who are in this process of, I really want to change things, but I don't even know how? How can you help someone in that kind of situation?
Yeah, unfortunately, there has been a lot of death and a lot of loss, and I'm sorry for your relative's loss. So there's a lot of emotional clutter there. That's what I call it, right? A lot of emotional attachment. And so when things get really cluttered up, especially when, someone before the tragedy was extremely organized and everything was like immaculate, and then after the tragedy, it's clear what's happened here, right? It's really difficult to deal with what's happened, and therefore you lose that sense of hope or joy. It just kind of disappears, and it's almost like you don't care anymore. Things don't matter anymore. You just kind of let things kind of fall to the wayside and pile up and build up. And so, with a situation like that, we really need to go a little bit deeper and understand where this, the attachment really is to the things, and how we can remove the emotions from the physical things, right? You can keep the emotions separate. You can grieve or memorialize someone in a different way, without having to hold on to so many things that either you belong to them or you accumulated as a result of going through the grieving period and the loss, right? So we just need to go a little bit deeper and start to detach some of these things. And then we can start to release the physical clutter that has accumulated as a result of it, because now they're not attached anymore.
Yes. See, I think that's huge. In some of the energy work that we do, Dee Dee and I do theta healing. And in theta healing, when something happens, an experience, sometimes we have these emotions connected to that experience. And those are the kinds of things that keep us stuck in that place, right? So through energy work, through healing, I'm not sure, I think you do some Reiki and some other, I don't know, maybe you can talk about those kind of modalities that you use, but through energy work, we can neutralize the emotions, allowing you to keep the memory of that experience, but not the emotions connected to that experience.
Absolutely.
That's so much of what keeps us stuck, is our feelings, our emotions. Feelings are fine, right? There's nothing wrong with having feelings and grieving and happiness and sadness and all these different emotions. We want to be able to feel all the emotions. At the same time, when it's time to let go, when it's interfering with our life and our way and our ability to move forward, that's when we need some help. That's when we need somebody like you, somebody like Dee Dee or me to say, hey, listen, there are ways we can move through that. And if you're ready, let's do it. Let's make that happen. What other types, do you use any energy work to help people, Michelle?
I have. So I have used some Reiki energy clearing and some aromatherapy clearing as well. It just depends on the situation. And so sometimes I'll introduce another modality in there to really help, with that process. Because like you said, it's perfectly okay to feel, certain things, but we just need to come to, acceptance of, these feelings and not bury them. And then at some point we can start to release some of the things that are attached to that. So it's really important to do that work, when it's a situation that is connected to loss specifically.
Absolutely. Absolutely. 100%. 100%. So thank you for that. I appreciate that answer. So something a little funny, a little interesting. Do you know who Marie Kondo is?
Yes.
She's very popular, right? So I have to bring her up a little bit. She's very, Didi, have you heard of her? Marie
No,
Kondo?
no.
Okay. So Marie Kondo is someone who very early on knew that she was going to help people help work them through their clutter. Okay. So I read a little bit about her story because when I saw her special on Netflix, she had this little special where she goes in and she helps people declutter their house and clean this up and clean that. And she's just really just a bright personality. Well, she has her own collection at the Container Store now. I had to just mention that because I was like, "Wow, there's Marie Kondo." And I want to just share something that she said because she's got like 4 books out and very popular. But she said this, and I was like, "Oh wow, like that's very interesting." And I think this is right along the lines of what you've been talking about, Michelle. So she said, "I was obsessed with what I could throw away. And one day I had a kind of nervous breakdown and fainted. I was unconscious for 2 hours. When I came to, I heard a mysterious voice, like some god of tidying, telling me to look at my things more closely. And I realized my mistake. I was only looking for things to throw out. What I should have been doing is finding things I want to keep, identifying the things that make me happy. And that's the work of tidying."
Wow.
Right? I was like, wow, that's very interesting. Because
Yeah.
we think that it's so, and then this is one of the fears, right? That could be. We think that, oh my God, I have to let go. I have to detach, like what you're saying, detach from these things that bring me some comfort, right? Comfort versus joy. Whereas instead, if you think of it as, what am I going to keep that makes me truly, truly happy? You got to sit with these things for a while,
Yeah.
right? Like you got to bring them in and like hold them close to your body. And even if it's a thing or a person or a, a feeling and bring it in and go, does this really give me what I need? Does this really bring me joy and happiness? And I mean, that just really gets me right to in my heart. So, and so, Michelle, I have one, this last question for you. It's like, do you feel like the experience of joy and happiness can transmute feelings like fear and anger and grief, those kinds of things? Is that part of why we want to look more towards the joy and happiness than these other feelings? What do you think about that?
I feel like if we put our focus and energy on the things that truly bring us joy and happiness, the rest won't matter, right? But a lot of times, because we don't know what it's going to take to bring us that joy and happiness, we focus on the other things because it's easier. It's easier to be, disappointed. It's easier to be angry. It's easier to be frustrated and overwhelmed. Sometimes it takes a little bit more effort to dig deep. Like I mentioned, I had to start doing for myself to really understand what it's going to take to bring us joy and happiness, because that means we need to understand ourselves. We need to really fully understand who we are at our core and what is it going to take to make this being happy, right? We're complicated beings, but what we do to make us happy doesn't have to be so complicated. yet we try to complicate it. And it's a lot easier to be upset or miserable or clutter our life or overwhelm our life than go deep and really understand what it's going to take to make us happy. And so that's what I see happening a lot of times with so many people. And that's what I was doing.
Yes. What's going on for you now, Dee Dee? What are you feeling?
Well, I just, normally I'm chatty Cathy during a show, but because it's such a personal, uh, you know, um, introspective conversation, it's like y'all are talking about all these things, and I'm thinking, okay, I have this closet. I mean, I'm in my mind, I'm working, I'm going, oh my gosh, and asking, if something makes me happy, and then taking it a step further, why do I think that makes me happy? Is it really about me? I mean, it's just really amazing what has been triggered and started to, I don't know if spiral is the right word, but because of things that I went through this weekend, the timing of everything, and the show is just wow. I mean, I know there are many in the same situation as, looking at things. Why do they have it? What is it really for? Is it about me or someone else? I mean, there's just so many questions that it raises, and being ready to go through that, and having someone like you, Michelle, so that they don't feel alone, because it's a courage step, And earlier in the show, it was mentioned, the uncertainty, because who are these people, or who am I without these things, and not knowing the outcome, being able to, and I was listening and asking myself these questions to put the practical application and how it could be presented, the people that come to seek the help is, the outcome is you don't have to worry about that because everything's supplied, because I've saved stuff that I think, well, my kids will need this, or somebody, like I do foster parenting, maybe they'll need this, but it's college stuff. They aren't there yet. That why am I worried about 6 years down the line when all I have to think about is right now? So that frees up a lot of stuff. So yeah, I mean, that's what's been happening for me through the show, and thinking about possible, how to apply what I'm hearing, so.
Absolutely. When we remove the clutter, the things that, really aren't serving us, it does allow us to be more present. It allows us to understand what truly it is that's going to make us happy. It wasn't the stuff that we thought. It wasn't all the, relationships that we surrounded ourselves with. It wasn't all the things that we were busying our lives with, right? The answer is always within us. And that's why it's really deep work, right? It starts with the clutter that we have within us. And the emotions and the feelings and the things in our head that really needs to be clarified, and then everything else will start to make sense. But it is a big step. It's absolutely a big step. When I went through it, I didn't have any support. I really didn't, and I was going through a very difficult time. I had to find the courage to walk away from a very toxic marriage and walk away from a corporate career that's all I knew, really. That was just, my self-worth and value was really tied to those things. And so I needed to step away and understand who I was. What I was, here to do in this world. And I didn't have the support. So it was a big, big process. But that's when I realized that, this is something that I'm sure so many people are faced with. And I want to now be that support for other people.
That's beautiful. Thank you for what you do, Michelle. It's such an important thing. It's such an important aspect of who we are, to have someone there to help us on our journey and to show us what we need to do, because you've been there before and you've done it before.
Yeah.
And what we know as energy awareness people, right? What we know is material things hold energy. They hold the energy of emotion. They hold the energy of memory. They hold the energy of whatever happened in the past. And one of the things that we know how to do is to move energy out of those things. If we want to keep them, we can, and we don't have to have the emotion, the memory attached to it. But then it's so interesting. You find once you remove it, loses its value.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It loses its value to us, and we find the true value inside.
Exactly.
Where it goes, where it belongs. So I want to flash your information up one more time so that people know how to reach you. They can go to your website, organizelifebymichelle.com, and find your workshop. Not yet, not the workshop information yet, but we're going to put those links down in the comments. But they can reach you through your website, right?
Yes.
And contact you for a conversation. You've got a Facebook group up there. I'm part of that group. I just love that group. I love how you come on, you talk about different things. It's beautiful. It's really, really helpful. And whoever is out there, you know that you need help. Michelle is a great person to connect with. And if she can't help you, she will find somebody who can. Isn't that right, Michelle?
Yes, absolutely. It starts with a decision, right? When you make the decision to take that step for yourself and you realize that you need support, that's really that's where it starts, right? And I offer declutter and clarity calls to have that conversation if it really is something that you're ready to embark upon, because the decluttering journey is a very important one.
Absolutely, 100%. And please don't let money be a factor or be something in the way of you doing this for yourself. I can tell you, Michelle's workshops are very affordable, extremely affordable. So if that's one of your reasons, you need to let that go, because that's not that's not as important as what you're going to get, the value of what you get from working with someone like Michelle, or working with Michelle. So, Michelle, thank you so much for being on our show.
Thank you so much for
Thank
having me.
you.
Thank you,
you.
Dee. Thank you, Brandy.
Our pleasure. We appreciate you, and we hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye. Oh,
I didn't mean to cut her off.
I didn't either. I clicked before I was ready. I'm sorry. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye,
Thank
Michelle.
you. Bye-bye.
Okay, wonderful. So that was amazing. That was really enlightening. Dee Dee, thank you for sharing.
Yeah,
Thank you
thank you.
for going a little bit deeper for yourself. Like, we're real people. We have real lives, and we have real stuff that happens to us, and our journey is a lot like other people's journeys.
Well, exactly. It translates or perceived to be different, just by the experience, but ultimately it's the same. It's the same fears, thoughts, emotions, and it's experienced in a different way, and it comes out in a different way. So yeah, having Michelle on the show today was very profound. I know it's going to help so many people. Yeah.
So do I. She's really amazing. We've been talking about doing some other things with Michelle too, some lives or some workshops together, and I truly believe something is culminating, because we have all these amazing people on our show. We've been doing special projects that people will be seeing pretty soon with other healers, and I can feel something big coming. I mean, a retreat or a conference or something where we can bring all these people together, and others can come and have the experience of knowing these people and connecting with these people.
Yeah,
Because
I agree.
there's too many. There's too many
Yeah.
incredible people in this world who want to help and have impact on others. So I definitely feel that we're building something really amazing by bringing all these people to our audience.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be amazing, and that's our goal. To be able to have people that have the tools that fit what you're looking for and how to help you take that next step. So yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so once more, if you have someone in your life that needs prayers or energy or unconditional love, please message us or text us and let us know. Just give us their name. You don't even have to give us their whole name. Just their first name is fine, or the whatever family, the Smith family or whomever, because a lot of times tragedies and these things that happen, they affect whole groups of people and not
Yes.
just one person. So our light intercession list, the number is 805-500-3343. And if you want to message it to us, it's at Beyond the Edge TV. So, Dee, I think we're done.
I think that's it. Our work is done for the day. No, it's just beginning. So yeah, everybody have a blessed day. Light, love, and blessings.
Namaste, y'all.
Namaste.